So that's the two reasons that it's a great question. Where I was during the film, I was at a place of understanding that the servitude needed not only for Cruz, but for a Jen, for example, is super special now because Halle, Tony, and Jen in the olden days would have not been able to play these characters that they were gifted and blessed with. Age-wise, there was a cap on women, particularly women of color, Jen included, a Puerto Rican sister, with obvious African blood connection there. Halle, a sister. They didn't get these same opportunities. Toni Collette, not a sister, but chronological age probably would have not been in her favor to play a kick-ass character like she played. So there was a real specificity to me saying yes to working with these three women this year, and it was, be a male feminist if you ever could be one. This is a moment where these women are afforded opportunities that never before were afforded. Denzel to the likes can work forever and do kick-ass shit. Equalizer Part 3.
Yes.
Denzel ain't the same age as Part 1 that he is at Part 3.
Yeah.
And even at Part 1, he was at an age where women playing Equalizer Part 1 probably would have had to be the better parts of 30 years old to be able to do it. These women are not 30 years old.
No.
So that was specific as to servitude. Equally putting that in Cruz. He is an FBI agent aiding and abetting her liftoff, her safety, her new life, if you will. Well, Omari was doing the same thing with Jen. My character was, but Omari was trying to do the same thing. Not that she needs much help. I can't be pretentious and act like she needed much help. She is as powerhouse as they come. But whatever hand I could lend in that, I wanted to. And now where I'm at now, in an even deeper clarity, I'm aware that I could hear God going, and you did that. So watch what I got for you.
Ooh, that's good. What's up, everyone? It's your boy, Mike Muse. Welcome to the Conversation, the Mike Muse Show. I am super excited to be in conversation with my next guest. I know what you're thinking. Like, Mike, when you're not excited to be in conversation with your next guest, I just love what I do so much. But this guy holds a very special place in my heart. As you know, audience, a lot of good things came out of COVID for me. Understanding a lot of things went wrong for a lot of people, so very mindful of that. But for me, my career took off. I got the apartment and home of my dreams. All the things went, and I had the ability to make some really meaningful conversations and connections during COVID too as well. And this next guest came on to the Mike Muse Show twice. And to this day, he is my most memorable guest, one of my most favorite guests, and I love the connection that he and I had during that time. He was so gracious with his time and with his energy and with his words and with his love and really with his brotherhood. And I haven't met this brother, only on Zoom. So it's our first time meeting in person. Welcome back to the Mike Muse Show, Mr. Omari Hardwick. What's happening?
Thank you for having me, brother.
Man, I'm so excited that you're in studio in
Here
the flesh, man. But it's amazing the type of energy that you have can transcribe through technology, through Zoom, right? Like, I sincerely felt your energy through that, and not too many times I felt that with people on the other side.
I understand your point. You know what's ironic, Mike, and you have the proper last name, as you know, Muse. What's ironic is that many of our muses who we look up to in respective fields, industries, whatnot, when you meet them, what I think sort of exacerbates the feeling that you have when you saw them prior, having never met them, accentuates, italicizes, bold print the energy that you thought they would have. You thought they would have. Those who we have made many a muse, to stay in keeping with you as a namesake, sometimes they're not that, as you know. And so then you go, oh, wow, this was interesting. But I think a lot of times, had we had an opportunity to meet them prior, well, obviously, then there's not that moment where you have the, wait, what? Scooby-Doo face. So it was interesting that Zoom became what COVID forced it to become, because you would imagine that with social media being at the maximum that it's at, that many of these people hide behind, and you get it, some being monikered perfectly thumb thugs.
Oh, yeah.
Because they know they could punch at you.
Oh, yeah.
Only in that way. They can't punch you when they see you, or they wouldn't. These people show who they are. They expose themselves, and you can tell that they don't like themselves. But it's interesting that people, when you get on a Zoom, it's not a post. And so you almost might get somebody faking the funk more in person than on a Zoom.
Yes.
On a Zoom, can you smell somebody's breath through the Zoom? No. Can you know whether they're wearing some clothes down low or whether they're only putting on something up top? No, because the Zoom was only, waist high. But to keep in the same reference as smell, you can often smell their bullshit.
You can.
You can.
You sum that up really well. And what I also too wanted to add on to that is something I liked about it, and I think is what made our connection so great, is that you're absolutely right. Like, I didn't have an opinion of you before I met you in terms of Omari the person.
The preconceived thing.
Yeah. Like, I obviously knew you from your roles. Obviously, I saw you on Instagram. I think I may have seen you out and about, but we never were close enough to even exchange a hello before. And so someone who was on this major hit show, right, that is career defining, right, and changes someone's trajectory, and then you became a household name. You expect a certain level of energy or things to come with that. And you were one of the most pleasant, surprising interviews. Even if you would have came in with high energy, I can handle it all. But I didn't expect you to have as much depth that you had, and as much knowledge about so many different issues. And I wasn't expecting you to be as vulnerable, right? In particular, as a black man, there's a lot of times black men, we are not that vulnerable, and also too, we're not vulnerable enough to be loving with each other, right? And so you came in with just such grace and brotherhood, which is rare, and it was beautiful. But with Zoom, what I enjoyed about it versus being in person, and you do have a team here, and I want to be mindful, and his team has been great audience. As you know, I actually talk about teams.
Don't pull punches.
Yeah. No,
don't say you want to be mindful. Don't do that.
I actually talk about teams.
Because the teams are awful. The team should reflect.
Yeah.
Teams are awful.
Sometimes the teams come in here, right, and they are awful.
I imagine.
Right, and their energy is heavy and it's bad.
I imagine.
All the things, and so I talk about that on air also too.
How
but
bad,
audience, this team is good energy.
How bad do people prove that they don't like themselves? How often is that?
It's easy. So when they walk in the door, it's a matter of they speak, they make eye contact. Are they short? Are they contrite? They don't even look at you. Judgmental. They come in with marching orders. Like, it's just all these things, right? I'm just like, I've actually had people removed.
You're like, I barely said hello.
Yeah.
Or have you had to do that?
I have. I don't play that.
Look at that gangster go shit.
Yeah, I don't.
Look at that.
Because you and I are so centered in who we are. Obviously, we're growing and evolving constantly. We all have our insecurities, the whole nine. But I'm so secure in who I am, and that the guests don't make my show, right?
So
the conversation makes the show.
So what's ironic about the conversation, I don't know if it's ever been a lob thrown easier, because it seems like you threw it easy, inadvertent, meaning you didn't know you threw a lob, but I'll slam dunk it home. I have had to negotiate why a character can be so addicting as a thespian trained. See, I'm first, Micah, actor, so I don't understand how one character can be addicting. Mike could say, oh, when we were growing up, whether you met him or not, whether it was Dr. J, whether it was Clyde Frazier, shout outs to New York, whether it was Bill Russell in Boston winning 11, whether it was Michael Jordan, less the years of playing baseball, but even then you were craving for him to come back because you were addicted to Michael. The side of entertainment that I have prior known, Mike, makes more sense to me, that a 1 to 1,000,001 can be addicted to that person, because magic is always magic. Is he born as magic? No, he's Irvin, but he's still magic. So the reality for me is, it was the first time upon which I'm meeting you after. Remember, it's not prior to Power that I'm meeting you. I'm meeting you after. So it was the first time, and I'm going to slam dunk it home with this. You set it up perfect. The conversation that was being had with people on their couches, called a show, inhabited by characters played or inhabited by other characters called the people who played these characters, all my castmates. But the addiction to one character in particular, Ghost, it begs the question, and obviously it's starting to be answered. If you say somebody comes in with more depth than you presume that they had, then the addictive quality to what you thought was character was actually an addictive reality to the person behind the character. So Mike, I always knew it. I am not raised to be of pretension in thought or arrogance, as you know. And I've also not allowed myself to go there. But God is the person who makes people addicting. So I was already aware, this character is so brilliantly written by Courtney that with my personality, gifts, craft, and commitment, and being an athlete, I'm going to run through this character. And that ran through television. And that ran not only through television, but it ran into living rooms more specifically. And when that happens, it is a moment, more depth on my part, of me having to dig deeper into the bag and go, you must forgive people who don't know what they're addicted to. I have written a lyric in a song where I said, I never sold a drug, but I done been the drug. Ghost wasn't really the drug. Omari was the drug. So when people now, in this last 10 months, I've been in a cocoon trying to figure life out as to where it's going forward. So I've come to a place of understanding with a more peace in tone, in spirit. I have come in tone of movement, in tone of speech, and in spirit. I've come to a place of understanding that, as long as you keep serving people, to remind them in your servitude that they too, because everybody's not called to a platform of size, to therefore might then become addicting. God chooses that, as Nipsey said, rest in peace. Many are called, not Nipsey. The Bible has said it. The Quran has said it. The Torah has said it. The Book of Latter-day Saints has said it. Book of Hinduism and Buddhism has said it. But those who are called are not necessarily those who are chosen. Many are called, few are chosen. So once you understand that, and my servitude is always getting a project kid named Pookie, all the way to the White House staff working for President Obama, my objective is to get everybody respectively, namely women of color, because they are a double minority, to get them to understand you have magic in you that will truly become addicting. But it gotta be addicting first to yourself. You can't jack off to it, but you gotta be addicted to it enough to go, okay, what did I do to manufacture more prosperity or more richness out of that magic that Omari is saying I have? Did I do something Wednesday? Did I do more Thursday? Did I go backwards? Because it's so okay to go backwards, as long as you go 3 steps forward after you went 1 backwards. So I had to really get good with Ghost, yo, my nigga, Ghost, yo, Mike, I had to get good with that shit. Because in my mind, I'm like, I'm such a big human being. Why would people who look like me not want me to be that big? And then a Mike might say, and others who don't look like you are equally addicted to the character. Sure. But we, of course, as you know, Mike, we as in brown and black people, we came to America, at least, behind an 8 ball. So it's harder for us to not take off the Superman cape, not worn by ourselves, but if Omari is the cape, forget that I'm wearing it. If I'm the cape, why wouldn't you drape me around you? I started to really understand that. And by drapage, you would go, dog, whatever made me feel like I could be a superhero was that one role you played. Can you come back and hug me as that guy? I'm like, I'll hug you better as Omari. You just got to be patient with me. I got so many more hugs coming.
But I love that what you're talking about is 2 things with addiction and being in service. And I think addiction for me is a metaphor for a couple of different things. I think addiction is who you are as an actor, an audience. You may not be an actor, but I always say, for me, the work goes before me. And I always say that the reason I've been successful, I never had to apply for anything. I never had to pitch myself anything. The work goes before me. And I'm a big believer your gifts make room for you.
So true.
Because your gifts make room for you and the work goes before you.
So true, my man.
People are addicted to that. They're addicted to your works. They're addicted to every time I show up in whatever space and form I show up in, I'm thorough, and they know they're going to get something good. It's like whatever you may be addicted to, whether you're addicted to sex, right? The moment you get that, you know how it's going to make you feel. You may be addicted to cake or candy or things sweet. You know, every time you bite this piece of cake, you know what it's going to taste like. Chocolate cake has a consistency, which is why you always keep going back to it. Whether like it's crack, it's drugs, cocaine,
it's
the same. It's a consistency.
The consistency is the operative word that you're choosing.
It's a feeling of it. And so for you, when you say people are addicted to Omari, they are, but they're addicted to your work, right? And they're addicted to the work.
The work becomes
the gift.
That which walks in first.
Yes.
So I think I'm making Omari synonymous with the work.
It is.
I think my team would not continue to be here. Some of whom are
over 10 years.
Business manager, almost 11 years. Lawyer, same. And I started to think about it. I'm like, consistency, and not only of work, but the way that you treat people. That's your point about kicking people out. Also, my pops used to say it costs nothing to smile, and it actually doesn't.
We don't gotta be besties.
No.
I don't gotta go to brunch with you.
But you could tell.
just-
But you could tell your colleague is
Yeah.
not used to that level of greeting.
Yeah.
Because when I walked to shake her hand, she kept it in a space of and I don't know. You could say maybe she's nervous. I don't know. But what I do know is that many people don't walk in and acknowledge people in a room.
Well, it's different.
That should be consistent too.
Because what happens is people come in here, and what happens, they only acknowledge the talent who's behind the microphone. They never acknowledge those
crazy
on the
to me.
boards or on the video, because a lot of people come in, look at them as insignificant. I get on people.
But how do they
yeah.
become significant?
Well,
By you paying attention to them. How could one day she be in your position? By you paying attention to her.
but they don't understand.
Give her a vote of confidence
exactly.
that might change her life, and she might absolutely within 5 years be where you're at.
Exactly.
I'm blown away by humans.
But it doesn't. But see, what people don't realize
While
is
being
that-
flawed.
Yeah,
More than
by
humans.
being flawed.
I get paid to be flawed.
Yeah.
But I'm blown away at the non-kindness of humans.
Because we all are working together, right? Like, this show doesn't work without Amina, the board op, and the producer, and this show doesn't work with Damien. No one can see it. So we all have to be in collaboration with each other.
Absolutely.
And if you want to have the best sound, if you want to have the best angle,
It's that.
pro tip, you want to be nice to the people, right? Like, we all are doing, we all have a job to do.
My whisper from day
right?
one, Mike, on a set
job
to
to
young
do.
actors is the director matters, but you better really respect the camera operator.
Homie,
They could kill your angles.
they literally could kill
Or
you.
they could get you a Golden Globe or an Emmy off of just this great close-up.
Yeah. I'm telling you.
Even when
yeah.
a director says cut, the
Yeah.
camera people who like you don't cut. They keep the camera moving on you.
And keep that mic hot. Right?
Fascinating.
To set you up. And for me, my secret weapon is when
Facts.
I'm at ABC is the makeup artist. And so when I'm in the room with them, I get so much information because they learn to trust me.
And nobody talks like makeup artists.
Right? Like, they learn to trust me.
All
and
you
they know
makeup
I'm
artists, we
trusted.
love you.
Like,
Nobody
literally.
talks and gives the goods like y'all.
Like them.
Am I wrong, Gino?
It especially if they like you.
Get off that phone.
Right?
Tap in. Am I right?
Yeah.
You know what he's going right now?
What?
He's getting information to give to around the next makeup artist.
I'm telling you. And it's all of a sudden I'm about to go and I'm about to do a complicated hit. And if they're in my space, I need for them to be almost a comfort for me. Right?
Because they're in your thing,
they're
bro.
touching you. And I'm about to go and talk about a difficult subject matter. And so I need you to have good energy
Makeup
around
artists
me.
are massive.
Right?
Hair, grooming, makeup. They're touching your person.
Yeah. So you always want to be respectful to that. But I think that goes to the service aspect that you brought up, right? And so, like, you understand that your team, you guys work in concert to each other, they're serving you as equal parts as you're serving them.
Oh, you got to be serving.
And I
bro.
think that's why you served the character Ghost. I don't want to keep letting into Ghost because, we're going to move forward with the great things you're doing. But I think
But all of the characters.
it's such an interesting point about Ghost, though, because if you aren't who you are and do the work that you put in to understand the character of Ghost, but then also too being service to Ghost because you see Ghost as human, right? You see Ghost as a person, right? And
I saw him as a way to, Mike, I saw Ghost as I watched the clock tick. I saw Ghost while life ticked. And I knew that, Mina, that's your name? I knew that Mina and some other teammates of mine in chronological age, Clay included, who obviously has been, as I stated, styling me for a long time. So if I'm telling you his age is of her generation, you can imagine how young he was when I grabbed him. I could see my publicist, I could see the clock ticking on an overload and or abundance of access, where even the project kid has this. Whether Steve Jobs is up in heaven going, damn, I really did some crap by making that. Whether people are wrecking and killing people because you're texting while driving, or whether people are killing themselves because someone bullied them via this. I started seeing the reality that with the abundance of that married to the world going like this, we were losing some relationship with the higher power. Don't care what God you believe in, but some relationship that you're not the biggest thing on earth. We were losing that. So I use Ghost to almost be a church service every Sunday. He was a flawed scriptural character that's in every template of holy understanding, no matter what major 8 religions are out in the world. He's in anybody's book as a scriptural signpost as to how well it can go. Shout outs to brilliant Bryan Cranston, having played Walter White, Breaking what? Bad. While James Ghost St. Patrick, played by Omari Hardwick, broke good from bad. That was my objective. It was my secret weaponry throughout.
And it worked because what
The
happens
suits,
is, yeah,
the walk, everything is Omari. I can't change the way I walk.
yeah,
I can wear a suit. I could wear a suit prior. The work goes before. Well, also your style goes before. But what I knew I didn't have was that of thinking about a character like that, because I didn't write it until it was written by Courtney, until it was given a life or a liftoff that not only Curtis allowed it, but Stars as a network allowed it. Then I couldn't necessarily grab a character in a career where I wasn't writing or producing yet and go, this is the one I'll make a service and make it almost while the clock is ticking on kids not knowing who a higher power is, and they're starting to be really unkind. And in New York, young people are punching old people in the face. What is fucking happening? I thought Omari's gift meets the writing of this character, meets what Courtney put on page, could really be an incredible service. And we showed on Sunday night.
yeah.
We showed on Sunday night. And so that was a secret moment that I had between me and myself in my locker room for 6.5 years.
I love that, man, because, and I'm smiling, audience, you see, because, you know, you talk about the Bible and the characters in the Bible are being flawed. And Ghost was just a flawed character, a human being, but he was still a human being. And I never glorify, you know, drug dealers or those in the drug game, but I knew someone.
Empathy.
I have to say
You gotta
past tense because he's passed away as a result of his
man.
profession.
Yeah.
But
Sorry to
he,
hear that.
but he was one of my closest friends, and he was a ghost, right? He was high up in the chain.
They mattered most to me.
Yeah,
That fan.
Yeah,
The fan called your friend who died.
yeah.
Even Curtis.
Yeah,
Curtis liking my work mattered. It's not an accident
yeah.
that he touched it, but it's also not a secret that he dealt drugs.
It's not a
It's
secret.
not a secret that Sean Corey Carter dealt drugs.
Yeah.
AKA Jay-Z. So
Yeah.
them liking the work was everything for me.
Important, but that's the service to it. But the service is for you to show what those individuals
What they
you
struggle
humanize.
with.
You humanize like this person in society that we often demonize, but we never ask a question to their constitution and the why they make the decisions and the choices that they do. Because not every choice is what the choice that we look at them from
That's
the criminal
right.
justice
That's
system.
right. That's
We have to
right.
look at them as human beings first,
That's
and
right.
then why do they make those decisions?
That's right.
Where do they come from?
That's
and then
right.
why? Me and my ghost, I once we got to that level, I would ask him his why, and he would tell me his why. Right? It started out just as a way to feed his family,
That's
but then
usually
it
what it
became
is.
too big for him to get out, right? And all these things.
Once you're in, you can't get out.
But he was so well versed in history. He collected art, and he had this incredible, beautiful, full life he gave and
he
donated
sound like that
the way
character.
Ghost was.
He sound
And so
like that character.
I was really thankful. So it's almost now for the first time, and we didn't talk about this last time we spoke. So it's interesting we're talking about it now. But I just love how, to wrap that up, I just love how you were in service to Ghost, but in service to so many other black men who have
sure.
went down the pathway of a ghost, and you allowed society to see them as whole. And when we see someone as whole, we're not often quick to throw them in prison for 20 years because they have marijuana on them, right? We had to ask the questions of the why.
A sister
right?
said something to me,
Yeah.
Mike. I was on the black carpet of Black Panther, and Chadwick was a friend for years, as you knew.
Yeah.
And Denzel was at that carpet, and you obviously know my relationship with Denzel. So the two of them there, I brought Jay. We all hugged it up. I don't think Pauletta was there. It was just Denzel, Chadwick. We had a nice moment away. But when I had to walk the carpet, a sister who had interviewed me for years while on Power, and that was probably Black Panther came out season 5 of Power. This sister said something to me that just really resonated. And she said, to the point about me saying a cape, and not only me donning a cape and then handing it to our culture, but me as the cape. She said, she was talking about superheroes, because obviously we were there for that, and I was there for Michael B. as well. And the sister said, Ghost was a superhero. And so the demonization, and that's a great word choice you use, we still, I realize, demonize our superheroes.
Yeah.
We still think about Superman also with, but what's his weakness?
Kryptonite.
We throw that in that should be the last statement. That when celebrate, you know, at the end of the day, and you know this, Mike, no human being and no character, no fake character and no real human being dies on Earth or leaves Earth with being eulogized, as much as they are eulogized with what I'm about to say, a litany of accomplishment. At the end of the day, when you go to that repast, if everybody could telepathically talk to each other, they wouldn't even need actual or absolute verbal communication. You could just be telepathically communicating. Everyone would say, did y'all really give an F about the resume or the litany of accomplished? And everybody would go, not really.
Yeah.
They would say, what did you care about? And everybody would say, how they made me feel.
How they made me feel. And that's
That's
it.
all that really matters in life.
That's it.
How you leave a room feeling.
It's
Some
even-
people have a
yeah,
gift at that.
They do.
Harry Belafonte, rest in peace.
Hey, rest in peace.
That giant made you feel like a giant.
He did. Because of his wholeness, right? And his
To your
humanity.
point. It's
right?
the bag. He had a bag.
And he had this constitution. I love about him is that whenever those in the civil rights era and movement would get arrested, they knew to call Harry, and Harry would come get it out.
Crazy.
Harry understood how movements need to be funded.
He knew how to move.
From the Southern Leadership Conference all the way to helping Dr. Martin Luther King, to even taking out a life insurance policy so that when MLK would pass away, because he had the foresight to see it, his family will be taken care of.
Yeah, that's
right?
crazy.
And so that's the energy, right? But that's the goodness, right? Like that's the goodness inside. That's a being of service, right?
So imagine that funeral.
Yo, even
You would take forever
Yeah.
to get to
Yeah.
somebody saying he made me feel this way.
Yeah.
Because your reading of his accomplishment would take forever.
Yeah.
But Harry is somewhere in spirit, as you know, floating around going, I don't need y'all to read all that.
Yeah.
Did I make you feel good?
That's all that mattered.
That's all he really cares about.
But it's even interesting, we're talking about eulogy and Sundays, and your relationship to having a Sunday service almost is oftentimes when we look at those people who we see as flawed, right? There's always this
Pastors included.
Well,
that's your point.
Yeah. We already see each other, right?
Those who wear the cloth.
Yeah, the cloth is almost this eulogy,
Ooh.
as if they already are just going on to the other side, which is hell for them. But I've always found this so fascinating, the controversy of this narrative, because if you look at religion,
What narrative, Mike?
that
narrative.
that narrative,
Of that
right?
narrative.
But if since we're going on a religious perspective, right, the Sunday, the service, relationship to God, and the service and the whole nine, I kind of just love where you
Well, and
landed,
also you're
particularly
at
with
Sirius
the, yeah,
XM.
I love with the eulogy
What
aspect of it.
is the greatest glorification of God?
Yeah.
Music.
Which is his high praise and to exalt, which is Psalm of David and the whole nine. But the whole point is that, you know, when you look at if you look at it from a religious point of view, right, it's also about the biggest commandment is agape love, right? It's the biggest unconditional love. And when you have an understanding of that, you know, I've said under the theologian that, you know, grace and that salvation can't be taken away from you. So the moment you accept, if you're looking at the Christian perspective, the moment that you accept Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior, no matter what happens in your life, it can't be undone, right? And so I always find it really troubling when I go to these funerals where some people may see them as being unworthy to be loved, right? This negativity, right? As if they're not going to heaven where you're going. Like, you can't undo their salvation, right? And so that's what I mean about being in the service of it all, right?
But I realize now while we vibed on Zoom, because you just really know who you are.
Yeah, it's just like this you can't.
But what if it
undo
took 90 years to learn who somebody is? Then somebody should stay not inside the house, because you can't grow learning, therefore, who you are by staying inside the house.
Yeah.
You have to live to die. You got to die to live.
Yeah.
I'm dying to live, not live to die.
Live to die.
So ironically, we say this at funerals too. We go, oh man, that person died at 40 years old. Well, at least they lived 2 lifetimes. And then some people die at 90 and you go, what did they really do?
That part. Yeah.
What did they really do? So just in my mind, I think it's one of the great things that's not even religious, and just remembering tomorrow's never promised. That's a great mantra. Just, it's not promised. What if it's over?
Speaking about people who have
What if
recently,
you were mean to the help and you go outside and you're done?
Homie, you you brought up Harry Belafonte, who passed away at the beginning of the
That would
week.
be crazy.
Yeah, a lesson I learned from Jerry Springer, who passed away at the end of that week, was Jerry said when he retired from Judge Jerry in 2022, he said, I don't want to live to work.
That's right.
I want to retire so I can enjoy life, right? And then a few months later, he got diagnosed with cancer and then passed away.
Done.
He finally stopped working at 77 so he can enjoy life, and then unable to enjoy life because it was cut short. So to your point, live in the moment, go outside,
just go out
and have some fun, right?
Yeah, scars included.
Scars included. So I'm curious about this conversation because, audience, you may not realize he actually is here to promote something. There is this incredible...
Scars is a good way to lead in.
I was just about to go there. I was just about to go there.
I'm proud of this chick for taking this role
he is here to promote this movie called The Mother, starring Jennifer Lopez on Netflix. And before I get into that, I just wanted to say shout out to you being like the ambassador and king of Netflix right now. You got many projects coming up with Netflix and prior to, but like coming up, you have the Mothership, and then you also have Pieces of Her that's coming up too as well.
Pieces of Her came.
Yeah.
It came. It was
it came, yeah.
Oh, you mean the second season?
That's what I'm saying.
No, they didn't call it back.
Oh, shit.
Pieces
Okay,
of Fur, they
cool.
call it. So it was Tony Collette. We shot, ironically, Mike, we shot in Australia, Dublin and Savannah, Georgia, of all places, which is where my family's from.
Oh, yeah, I knew
So
you
my
from
roots
Georgia.
are Savannah. I think I told you that.
Yeah.
But that, Australia,
Football player.
that was absolutely, it was Australia. It was
Okay.
a beautiful time because it was Tony. I went from Tony to Halle to J-Lo to Marseille Martin.
I mean,
a year of women.
We
A young woman.
We all can't
Marseille
be
hit
as-
18 years old. So I aided her and as the surrogate father.
Well, we might as well stick to religion, as they say. Favor ain't fair.
That's it.
Favor ain't fair.
Yeah.
As I could talk to you all day. I know you have a busy schedule today, but I guess as we think about The Mother, where you play a CIA agent assisting Jennifer Lopez's character was an assassin who was trying to fight for to take back her child and all the things that come with it. In service to this character as a CIA, I think it's interesting. You said you spend the time in Cocoon finding who Omari is. Who do you think you are now as you play this character, the CIA agent?
This is a great question. So ironically, the reason it's mostly a great question, there's two reasons. But the first reason it's a great question, Mike, is because the cocoonship of sorts, of dying amongst this caterpillar of self to be ready for my butterfly that God has ahead for me. That so many fans either want to have Ghost a part of or they recognize that Ghost is done and that the butterfly ahead is even more grandiose. It's even greater. That cocoonship is post this movie. So I wasn't at the clarity that I'm at. I mean, I'm a pretty clear person, as you know, but I wasn't at the clarity that I'm now at when I was doing this guy. So that's the two reasons that it's a great question. Where I was during the film, I was at a place of understanding that the servitude needed, not only for Cruz, but for a Jen, for example, is super special now because Halle, Tony, and Jen, in the olden days, would have not been able to play these characters that they were gifted and blessed with. Age-wise, there was a cap on women, particularly women of color, Jen included, a Puerto Rican sister, with obvious African blood connection there. Halle, a sister. They didn't get these same opportunities. Toni Collette, not a sister, but chronological age probably would have not been in her favor to play a kick-ass character like she played. So there was a real specificity to me saying yes to working with these three women this year, and it was, be a male feminist if you ever could be one. This is a moment where these women are afforded opportunities that never before were afforded. Denzel to the likes can work forever and do kick-ass shit. Equalizer Part 3.
Yes.
Denzel ain't the same age as Part 1 that he is at Part 3.
Yeah.
And even at Part 1, he was at an age where women playing Equalizer Part 1 probably would have had to be the better parts of 30 years old to be able to do it. These women are not 30 years old.
No.
So that was specific as to servitude. Equally putting that in Cruz. He is an FBI agent aiding and abetting her liftoff, her safety, her new life, if you will. Well, Omari was doing the same thing with Jen. My character was, but Omari was trying to do the same thing. Not that she needs much help. I can't be pretentious and act like she needed much help. She is as powerhouse as they come. But whatever hand I could lend in that, I wanted to. And now where I'm at now, in an even deeper clarity, I'm aware that I could hear God going, and you did that. So watch what I got for you.
Ooh, that's good. Omar, we're gonna leave it right there. Actually, I think that's a good way.
You should drop the mic on that.
There's nothing else to come behind after that, because you're gonna come back and let us know what God has in store for you in the next conversation, what you've been up to. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the amazing, incredible friend and brother Omari Hardwick. Make sure you watch The Mother May 14th on Netflix. Even the fact that it's called The Mother and a woman playing an older person and willing to have a kid is rare in Hollywood. Until next time, folks. Peace.